The future of the local economy is not upbeat, not in the eyes of a former central bank governor who, as our Amajal Knowles tells us, offers up a few suggestions on how to improve the outlook.
Short term, the news is not good when it comes to where the local economy is headed. In fact, former central bank Governor Julian Francis says he's not optimistic for economic growth in the slightest sense.
I'm not really that optimistic about the short term. For a number of reasons. One is that what I believe has always driven our economy is what is going on around us on the outside. If we all remember, when we talk about good times in our economy, it's when there's a lot of money around. And generally speaking, what that is, that's driven by mainly is fairly strong economies around us, which generate the kind of investment and demand which drives our economy. We are not an internally driven economy, and I suppose that to some extent we can change that over time. I think we can become more of that, but that takes time. And in any event, I'm not so sure that it'll ever be, that is the internal driver of the economy, it'll ever be big enough to satisfy the the standard of living that the Bahamas has become accustomed to.
Mr. Francis, who at the time was participating in a roundtable discussion on the economic prospects of the Bahamas, adding that the problem also stems from the country's inability to grow different sectors to compete in today's global market.
We have still been dependent on the traditional sectors, and we really haven't grown any significant sector of the economy which is competitive in today's environment. Some of the new economies which are working around us. Unless we can do these things, the truth is we're not going to be, compared to some of the others that we usually look at to sort of benchmark ourselves, I don't think we're going to be able to, to emerge as a real powerhouse of an economy. We'll always be trying to figure out how to make the best of what's going on around us.
Now, while Mr. Francis acknowledged that the country may be in dire straits, here's what he believes must happen to turn things around.
The key to any real, sustainable, significant growth in our economy, which is going to be enough to create the lifestyle that Bahamians want and at some point have known, is reshaping our economy. We've got to become an economy which is far more efficient, which I feel needs to learn how to live a bit more in line with our capabilities.
The former central bank governor comments follows credit rating agency Moody's decision to slash its 2017 economic growth forecast of the Bahamas to below 1%, warning that there was little to medium-term momentum beyond Bahama. Moody's projecting that the Bahamas' real GDP will expand by a modest 0.8% in 2017, following a 0.3% contraction last year, further showing how much work is required to turn the country's economy around. For JCN News, I'm Amajal Knowles.
Now, Grand Bahama plays a key factor in why the economic outlook is dismal. In recent years, the island has struggled to overcome one major setback after another, all eating away at its tourism product.
Grand Bahama.
Yes.
Okay, and all of the hurricanes. So Frank God mentioned, I think earlier about the hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
But the whole economy of Grand Bahama and the trials and tribulations they've had over the last, say, 10 years.
Yeah.
And they were, I think, 40 to 50,000 people live there.
That's the view of James Smith, who also sat in the chair as central bank governor. But according to his successor, Mr. Francis, Grand Bahama's wounds were self-inflicted.
I know Grand Bahama as well as you do, as you know. Grand Bahama, to some extent, is a self-inflicted failure for us. We failed to innovate in our policy environment in order to maintain the sort of relevance of a free port. Freeport, I would say, is a kind of opportunity which many economies don't have. Certainly not in this part of the world.
Former Grand Bahama Minister Dr. Michael Darville recently charged that that island's economy has taken a turn for the worse and is in a crisis as countless businesses are closing their doors and the Free National Movement government has failed to act. Well, if you were to ask a former ambassador to China, Andy Gomez, moving the local economy forward means engaging Bahamians at the ground level, particularly in their skill set. Mr. Gomez's comments came during a call into Love 97's daily talk show, Issues of the Day. Meantime, the Bahamas' reputation of being a tax haven highlighted after the country was named among 19 countries in the Paradise Papers, a data leak that has shed light on several questionable schemes regarding offshore finance around the world. The name refers to a leak of 13.4 million files. Most of the documents, 6.8 million of them, relate to a law firm and corporate services provider that operated together in 10 jurisdictions under the name Appleby. The files set out the myriad ways in which companies and individuals can avoid tax using artificial structure. Now, the schemes are legal if run correctly, but many appear not to be, according to the UK daily The Guardian. The leaks were obtained by a German newspaper. There are also details from 19 other corporate registries maintained by governments in secrecy jurisdictions, including Antigua and Barbuda, Aruba, Barbados, Bermuda, and the Cayman Islands. Now, among those caught up in this data breach are Queen Elizabeth II, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. The papers cover the period from 1950 to 2016. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.